Hello everyone, this is Brian Anderson with the wsTOOLS team. Thank you for joining our webinar today on making faster payment, purchase order, and invoicing corrections. Throughout the webinar today, please enter any questions that you have in the questions pane of GoToWebinar. I have Brandon Mayer here who's monitoring that question box, and we'll go ahead and answer them. I think what we'll do, we actually have 3 tools that we're presenting on today, so we'll take the questions and answer them after each presentation of the particular tool. So we'll prompt everyone to make sure that you get your questions in during that section. So thank you very much again for joining us today. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. The good thing is I only have a couple of slides, and then we're going to go ahead and jump right on in. So as I mentioned, we're going to do three tools today. Payment reapply is the first one that we're going to see, and you'll see in our session today that these on the surface are pretty simple tools. They allow you to make corrections faster, and they look simple, but behind the scenes there's a lot of stuff that's happening, and I'll probably go into some of that on a few of the tools, as well as what's actually happening in the background as well. But we're going to start with payment reapply, and that complements Dynamics GP, and it really provides the ability to back out a payment that was entered in incorrectly. It was applied to one customer, and it should have gone to another customer. So we're going to start with that one. Then we'll follow that up with, so that's on the sales and receivable side. Then we're going to really then shift over to more on the payable side. We're going to look at a similar type of situation where I've started entering, or maybe I've entered a payables transaction, and it should have gone to a different vendor. And so that's called PM vendor change. And again, it saves the time by eliminating the need to cancel what you've done or delete what you've done and have to re-enter it. It's pretty straightforward. That one won't take too long for us to show you that. And then we're going to wrap up today's session with PO vendor change. Again, staying on the purchasing side, and that complements GP, also complements key to act signature, because we can reference job cost in jobs and also service calls, and make the adjustments on those as well with the change in the vendor on a PO. So again, that one very, very straightforward, switches the vendor on a purchase order. It eliminates the need to cancel and copy. Again, we'll show you that would be an option, but there's some benefits of using PO vendor change over having to cancel the original PO or copy it, a new one, and assign it to that vendor. And again, PO vendor change works on different types of POs that you might have, either a standard or blank PO drop ship, or drop ship blank PO. And we'll go ahead and show you how PO vendor change works today. All right, so those are the 3 tools that we're going to follow, that we're going to use today, show you how they work. So let me take this moment to jump over to Dynamics GP, and we're going to start, as I mentioned, with payment reapply. So we're going to go into the sales area of GP, and we're going to receive a cash receipt. So we'll go into cash receipts, and I'm going to change this payment number. Well, just so we can find it, it's 517. We'll just do that. And we're going to go ahead and we'll pick on our favorite customer, Accurate Printing here, and we'll enter, say we received a check for $500 from Accurate Printing. So let's go ahead and do that. All right. And we'll enter check number. All standard stuff so far. If we take a look at the distribution on that payment, you'll see that it credited cash and or debited cash and credited our accounts receivable, which is what we would assume. And then we would also apply it, right? We would take that $500, and then we would get to choose where we would apply it to. And let's just apply it to that first invoice out there. So we'll go ahead and do that. And we will go ahead and post that over. All right, so process the payment from Accurate Printing, and Then I realized, Brandon, gosh darn, that wasn't accurate printing. That should have had that. That should have been to a different customer. So let's go ahead and see how we can. And I'll skip the posting journals here. So we'll go. All right. So we made a mistake. What do we do? Well, now let's see how a payment reapply can work. So I'm going to go to the sales inquiry here, and we'll do the transactions by customer, and we'll just find that that payment that we just applied to accurate printing here. And I think I changed the name, or the, oops, sorry, I'm going too far here. Oh yeah, well, I'm not finding it here. Let's go down to, there we go. All right, so here's the payment of the $500 that we received today. So if I take a look at that payment, and there it is, with payment reapply now, I can go up to the additional button here, and I can actually back out that document. So that's what I'm going to do. And this is where payment reapply is taking over. We'll just go ahead and let's apply that payment to maybe Lake Park Golf. Let's find Lake Park Golf Supply here. I'm going to go ahead and select that. Let's just put in a batch ID. All right, we can also enter a document date, a GL posting date there as well for the correction. I'm going to go ahead then and unapply the payment that was made to accurate printing, and then I'm going to tell the system to go ahead and create and apply it to Lake Park Golf. And you'll see a couple things that it did is it appended our payment number now with the letter A, meaning it was an adjusted payment. So now if we go back, it also put a void date in the accurate printing payment. All right, so let's go ahead and see what happened behind the scenes on that. We'll go back to the transactions here, and we'll go into the cash receipts. So now if I take a look, I'm going to look up there, and here's our payment. Now what it didn't do, it reversed out the payment from accurate printing and put it to Lake Park Supply. And we'll take a look at the distribution. The distribution, it did, you know, again, it's crediting receivables and debiting cash, which is right. But the apply, you still would need to come into the apply to pick which invoice that payment should go for Lake Park Golf. Okay, so let's just go ahead and we'll go ahead and pick that and apply it. And we'll go ahead and do that, and then we can post that. Okay. Oh, let's remove that so I can show that we can go ahead and post that. All right, cool. So what we've done now is we've reversed that payment, and let's go back now to the what happened in the with accurate printing, which is what where the original payment was applied. So we'll pull them up. And if we take a look now at, we'll find that original payment, which was $517 here. All right, there you go. We've got the little asterisk there showing that the payment was reversed. And if we go into that, we'll see now in the distribution for that particular payment that it went and it reversed out the GL entries. So it basically canceled those out, and it reversed the apply as well. There's nothing that was applied to that payment. We take a look then at we'll go ahead and hit OK on that. If we do the Lake Park Golf, same thing there. We can see that now that payment was applied appropriately, and we should see the apply that we just did as well. So we'll take a look at that. And here we go. There's that. We'll go to the document number. And now we can see the distribution as I showed you before. And we'll see that when we picked the apply when we came back in, it's now applying it to that particular invoice. So again, pretty simple to do in the when you as an operator, but behind the scenes, it's making sure that everything gets unraveled and that the GL entries are being adjusted, and there's an audit trail to it as well. So that is payment reapply. So let's, Brandon, let's see if we have any questions regarding that.
We do not have any questions in the GoToWebinar pane, but what we could do is, I don't know if do we want to hold, and we'll just take everyone off mute at the end, but right now there's nothing in the questions pane. So if you do have any, please enter them there, or like I said, we will take you off mute at the end of the session.
Yeah, please do, and if you have any comments as well as questions, feel free to put them in the questions pane too. We always are open to feedback. I guess I didn't mention it up front, but all of these tools came from requests from our clients. And because we've had these requests more than a few times, we decided that we would bundle it into a tool and offer it out to the partner and customer community of Dynamics GP. So let's go ahead, and the next one, this one won't take very long, but it's a similar concept on the payable side, is that we enter a payables transaction to a wrong vendor, and we want to correct it pretty easily. So let's go ahead, we'll go into purchasing, and we'll go into the transaction entry window here, and we'll go ahead and, oops, there we go. All right, so we're going to enter a transaction, and let's just go ahead and pick, let's say it's purchase, and we're going to pick on ABC Plumbing today, I think. All right, select that, and let's put in a document date or document number. All right, and let's say we purchased we're entering it for $1,500 here. All right. Yeah, we've got, this is the tax, we've got some sales tax on here as well. So, okay, so I've entered the transaction. If you take a look at the distributions here, again, nothing out of the ordinary. GP functionality, we're putting our debits and credits here. Everything looks good, right? And I'd be ready to print the check, but then Brandon, you know what? Gosh darn, this isn't ABC Plumbing. This wasn't. And again, if you take a note here, it's grayed out. I cannot change that. And that the whole purpose of PM vendor change was so I didn't have to re-enter this. Now, granted, I could delete this right now and come right back in and re-enter it. Not a big deal, but I could very simply with PM vendor change, I can go ahead and change vendor ID. And I'm going to get a little pop-up window here, and let's go ahead and we're going to pick on Ellenson. It was supposed to be Ellenson to begin with. I'll go ahead and select that and hit commit, and that's going to make the change now on that transaction. So now instead of ABC, I've got Ellenson Properties, and now I could print the check and go on my merry way and do whatever I want to for the day. So pretty straightforward stuff that's going on there. Again, distributions stayed the same. Just, again, made a change. If this invoice had been posted, however, we would have honored, we would then honor, would not be able to change that. We would have to honor the rules of GP in making sure that on a posted invoice, we would, you know, that we couldn't just do that. We couldn't just switch it and not do anything behind the scenes. So. All right, let's open it up. Again, please enter any questions you have on PM vendor change. Again, a fairly straightforward tool. The next one that we're going to go is PO vendor change. So being able to change the vendor on the PO. This one has a little bit more unraveling that occurs on a PO. So do we have any questions, Brandon? Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and jump into PO vendor change.
No questions at this time.
Okay, and a PO vendor change was just released what, a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
We've had great traction with it. It was a tool that people were requesting and anticipating the release of. So we've had really good traction on meeting the need of that. So let's take a look at what we've got with PO vendor change. So let's go to the purchasing. And we'll go into enter a PO here. And we're going to go ahead and enter a new, brand spanking new one here. All right, let's pick on, oh, we'll pick on ABC again. That's my favorite vendor out there, right? All right, so we'll pick on that. All right. Okay, again, all standard functionality so far. And let's just enter a few things here. We'll enter some line items. I'm not sure. Well, let's pick some oil here. And let's get 4 of those. And out of the warehouse. Okay, or for the warehouse. All right, and then we'll put one more in here. Let's do some, you know, we'll look it up here. All right. Okay, so we've entered a PO, right? Let's go ahead and save and commit that PO. All right. So we've got a PO created, and then who knows, maybe right after we've entered it, or maybe down the road, we find out that this vendor cannot deliver what I ordered. We need to make a change. Well, we could cancel this PO and go to the action area. First of all, we could create and copy this to a new PO and then cancel out this one. We could do that. That functionality exists today. But people, our clients are saying, you know what, we need it a little bit easier than that. So we're going to go ahead and show you how we can go ahead and change that. So that was PO, if we take a look, that was PO 2173. All right, so let's go back and let's do the purchase order entry again. We'll go back to PO 2173. All right, so we've got our line items here. And what we can do now is we can go ahead and click this additional tab, and we can go ahead and change the vendor ID on this PO. All right, and we're going to go ahead and change that. Let's go to, we'll pick this one here, Advanced Office. We'll pick that one. And then if we commit, we can go ahead and commit that. And now, if I refresh, I can see that that PO 2173 was changed from ABC over to Advanced Office Systems. So I didn't have to copy, I didn't have to create and copy, and then adjust it to Advanced Office Systems. And then I didn't have to come back and cancel this one out. PO vendor change allowed me to go ahead and do that with that functionality. All right. Now you may say, gosh, you know what? I could have just canceled that. I really could have just canceled that. But if you're using Key to Act for POs, so if any of you listening today are using Key to Act and have purchase orders for jobs and also service calls, this saves more time, because when you create and copy a new PO, if you've got this PO assigned to a service call or to a job, that create and copy new, it doesn't bring in that service call information. And so this is a time savings by allowing you to change the vendor without having to create and copy new, but then also have to go back and add the job or the service call information. So let me show you, we've got a few moments here. Let me show you how that works. I'm going to use a little bit of bonus coverage here, Brandon, I'm going to use QuickFind. You folks aren't familiar with QuickFind. We're actually having a webinar on it next week, next Thursday. But QuickFind allows you to find customer information very quickly. So let's we're gonna search for Cedar Family Counseling here, and it brings that record up. And we're going to pick on this service call, and I'm just going to show you again a service call. And when I invoice, you'll see that there's some costs that are attached to a PO. So if I look at material cost here, I can go back there under the material, and I can see that this was PO 2172 that created these costs to this service call, and I can drill into it. And the reason I'm going in this deep is to show that this PO happened to be assigned to ABC Plumbing Company. So I'm inside of a service call, in Key to Act, and I've got a purchase order assigned to this service call to ABC Plumbing Company. So I'm going to go out now, and we're going to go ahead and actually change the vendor on that. All right. We'll go ahead and delete that. So let's get out of there. And we'll go into the purchase order entry again. And we'll take a look at that PO number. That was PO 2172. Okay. And again, as I mentioned, this PO was assigned to that service call because we had just gone into the service call and we saw that connection. So again, I could have gone here, create and copy new PO, but again, it doesn't bring that service call information over. So that's where PO vendor change makes save some time, is we can go ahead and change the vendor on this now. And let's go ahead and we'll pick. Okay, it was for ABC Company. Let's pick Yale here. Let's say it should have been Yale, or ABC can't deliver, so we're going to change it to Yale. Make sure I've got the right one. There we go, and let's go ahead and commit that. All right. So what we've done now, if we refresh again, it has now changed the vendor on that to Yale. Now, if any of these parts were not set up for Yale, it would have prompted me to say, hey, this part isn't assigned to this vendor, and it would have allowed me to go ahead and enter it or change the cost on it as well. So that functionality is there. Now let's go take a look, and let's save this now. And let's go back to that service call once again to make sure that it went ahead and switched it over there. So now when I go back to Invoice, and if I look at the material cost now, I've still got that same PO, but you'll see now that it's assigned to Yale Equipment Service. So when I changed it over in the purchase order, it automatically flowed over to the service call. Again, it could be for the job as well, if it was a job number assigned to those line items on the PO as well. But that has a lot more unraveling to do. The PO vendor change it looks simple on the surface, but there's a lot of things that have to occur from an assignment perspective, from maybe a costing perspective, when you make that switch to a different vendor. So we've had actually some folks already provide some great feedback on PO vendor change, that especially heavy in the Key to Act world, invoicing there and purchase orders. In some cases, assigning a purchase order to every service call, they're saving a ton of time by using PO vendor change for that. So that was all that I wanted to show today. But let's see if we have any questions from the audience.
Yeah. So Brian, while you were showing PO vendor change, I happened to be chatting with someone, and they were wondering if we had a recording of PO vendor change, which we do on our website.
Yep.
And you know, they just had a comment that this would be a huge time saver to clients. So appreciate that. And all of our recordings can be found on our website and also on YouTube.
Yep. Yep. All right. So we are getting close to our time already, I think, here. Went fast. Please, we're going to give folks another minute to ask any additional questions. Otherwise, in this time, we sell all of these tools that you've seen today and any others that you might have seen in the past through our reselling partner network. So if you're interested in any of these, please contact your GP partner of record, and they can get in contact with us. If you have any questions, however, after this webinar that you think about, give us a call, send us an email. We'll go ahead and answer those. And if it leads into a deeper discussion, we can pull in your assigned partner as well into that discussion. But we just want to make sure that you're getting the information and the help that you need. All right, last call.
I do not see any more questions.
All right, well, super. Thank you again for joining. Next Thursday, I mentioned we are having a webinar on Quick Find, not only for finding customers, but vendors and finding service call information and invoice information. We're also going to do billing escalations and also Quick Collect. So we're going to do 3 more tools next Thursday. And I hope that you folks can join. Again, watch for the invitations. You can always go out to our events page at www.iscorp.biz and go under the events tab. We list all of our webinars there in advance, and you can register right from there as well. So no other questions that come in?
No other questions.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining today. I hope you found some value out of this. And again, let us know how we can help. Thank you.